Hey everyone, welcome to the live edition of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. We are here with the lovely Molly Desch. And again, Molly has been a guest on our show before, and it's always a pleasure to have her come back. I'm sure we're going to plan another time when she could come back because, I have just grown fond of Molly since I was a guest on her show and she's been a guest. And I believe we've become pretty good friends, haven't we, Molly?
I think so. I feel like
Yeah, I do
it.
too. I feel like I've known you for a long time, and really it's only been a couple of months. But thank you for taking time out of your evening to be with us.
Yeah, of course. I love talking to you, Al. This is fun.
I love talking with you too. This is what's so nice about doing these shows and meeting so many different people from all over the United States and Canada. Yeah, I was a guest on another podcast that had to do with family addiction and with Margaret Thompson, and we have just become really good friends too. We're chatting all the time on Facebook and Messenger and all kinds of things, and working on a couple things together, at least hoping to that everything works out. So
Awesome.
yeah. So
Yeah.
how's life been treating you since we last saw you?
It's been really good. So, I'm still doing my sober coaching. I recently took a trip to Bali. Um,
Wow.
I booked this trip back in October. It had been like 6 years since I'd been out of the country and had really taken like a real me vacation. So I was like super pumped about it. So I spent um, a little over 10 days over there. It was an incredible experience. It was my first sober vacation as well. So that
Well,
was
good
really
for
cool.
you. That
Yeah.
is cool. And how is Bali?
Oh man, it's incredible. So I love gardening and flowers and vegetation, and it is like a tropical paradise over there. I mean, literally every square foot of that place is just covered with palm trees, tropical plants, fruit plants, just it's amazing. The people are incredible. They're extremely hospitable and kind. The traffic is bananas. There's like millions of scooters zooming in and out of the traffic. There's like no signs anywhere. There's no like lines on the road or anything. The ocean is like a beautiful teal blue color. It's always hot. It was so humid. It was like over 80% humidity the entire time. So it
Oh
was
my
like
gosh.
take a shower 3 times a day kind of heat.
Wow. Well, it sounds beautiful. Hopefully one day, yeah, my wife and I will be able to make something like that. It's even, I love how you talked about the traffic is insane, bananas and going in and out. And as soon as you said that, I started thinking about like when we're in our recovery, right? That's what it seems like. It's like bananas. We're dodging all this stuff that's coming at us and doing our
Yeah.
best to stay focused, on our lane, right? We like to
Yeah.
say here, on my wife and I, we like to use the term, we need to stay in our own lane instead of
Yeah.
veering off. We need to stay focused on where we're heading. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's hard to do. There's a lot of distractions. And if you don't figure out what you need to eliminate from your life, some of those distractions, whether it be, some of the people you've been spending your time with, or social media or the news, the news is like, gosh, I don't even really watch the news anymore. I just feel like it's so toxic and I mean it's depressing,
Yeah.
right? So but yeah, it's total chaos. There's no signs leading you a particular direction. You're just trying to figure it out. You're just trying to get from one place to the next without getting, thrown off your scooter in the meantime, I guess.
So that's the big rental item, is a scooter.
Oh, well, so the roads are extremely narrow, like so narrow. Like one of our lanes is like their whole street. And so I don't know if you've ever spent much time in like overseas,
Mm-mm.
definitely like in Asian countries. a lot of their roads are really narrow. So like all the car manufacturers account for that. They make much smaller vehicles. But yeah, scooters are a huge thing because I mean, you can just kind of zip in and out of traffic. You don't have to worry about these little, traffic jams, which are everywhere and all day. I mean, it takes like an hour just to go like a mile within the city. It's crazy.
Oh, geez. I'd go nuts. I'd probably go into some road rage.
Yeah, you just want to like get out of the car and just start walking, but it's like 100 degrees outside and you just like start sweating it's yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Take your piss.
no need to do your hair.
Well, actually, so that's really funny that you brought that up because my last time we talked, my hair was quite a bit longer.
Uh-huh.
And the second day that we were in Bali, like I was so tired of my hair being like sweaty and matted to my face. I just walked into a barber and I was like, cut it all off.
Oh, be doggone. Yeah, I thought your hair looked shorter than from the last time that we saw one another.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. So you had it done just right there in Bali.
Yeah. So we just like walked into this barber and this older Balinese woman, she says she's been cutting hair for like 40 years. I'm like, cool, I trust you. This other lady, she's like, would you like a massage? So me and my partner, so he got a back massage, I got a haircut, he got a haircut, and then I got a foot massage, and we paid like $15 for the whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was nuts. I
Holy
was like,
cow.
oh, I think I'm gonna do this every day.
Right? I would too.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, I know when we spoke a little earlier. Now, you mentioned that May was Mental Health Month, correct?
Yeah, mental health awareness for the whole month of May. I know here we are, May 31st. It's the last day, but honestly, I feel like bringing awareness to mental health and how addiction plays into that can be something we can talk about every day. It doesn't have to be just a specific month.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have to agree on that. I was chatting with somebody last week. I don't remember where it was at, and we were talking about mental health. It came up, and I said, yeah, I'm working on a TED Talks actually to talk
Ooh.
about stigma. I
Mm.
really think that would be a great TED Talk. So
Oh my gosh,
I've been
yes.
working on it for a couple months, and I do it and then read it a little bit and like, no, that's not powerful enough. And then I'll redo it and read it and like, okay, this is the one. And I'll start practicing and I'm like, no, this one still isn't it. I'm waiting
Yeah.
for that feeling that I know. And I was talking about how in my TED Talks I want to talk about the mental health, right? Because the stigma for individuals, they well, a lot of us we end up putting labels on individuals
Yep.
when we have no clue what their background's like. And
Yeah.
some people, not all people, but some people that I've had on my show and probably on your podcast as well, people who have suffered from mental illness, some of it has come from their upbringing, right? Of what they have gone through, what they've
Yeah.
experienced. And I tell you what, with some of the guests that I've had on my show, who am I to say I wouldn't be in the same shoes that they lived in, right? That they walked around in? Because some of them have gone through some terrible, terrible things as young children
Yeah.
and had nowhere to go to be safe. That has got to scar you in a deep, deep way.
Well, and not to mention that, like, look at the resources that are available to people that are going through something like that. Like, if you today tried to get into like a psychologist or a psychiatrist, like the waiting list is like 6 months,
Yeah.
so you just kind of give up. And then only a few of them have, like floating scales. Some of them are like $150 an hour. Um, Sometimes some companies will offer, I don't remember what it's called. Like the company that I work for offers it, but you get like 6 free sessions with their insurance plan, right? But the only people that accept that, I mean, not to like dog anybody that is in that profession or accepts that type of insurance, but in my experience, because I have reached out to therapists that do accept those free sessions, they're subpar. Like, I don't feel like they were helpful at all. Like, I would go to 1 or 2 sessions and I'm just like, wow, I could probably do better myself. Um, so I just feel like the resources aren't really there. And then, like you said, the stigma. I mean, for people with like PTSD or depression or severe anxiety. I mean, you even got like ADHD and autism. I mean, there's so much like variance to the different mental health issues that people experience, and the lack of education as well. People just kind of see these people and they just kind of push them to the side because, well, they're crazy. We put a label like they're crazy or they're unhelpable or they're hopeless, which is so far from the truth. I mean, I don't know about you, but I experienced things with like my dad, and I know that you had experience with your dad too.
Yeah.
And that jacks up your head. You weren't taught how to show your emotions. You weren't taught like healthy coping mechanisms. And so we both turned to substances to, cope with that. You don't know how to do that. And parents, I don't feel like, are taking the responsibility to also teach their kids healthy coping mechanisms. Like, sit down with your preteens or your 10-year-olds when they throw a temper tantrum or they get really upset, like, let them cry, show them what some mindfulness practices are, how they can do like deep breathing, like something that's healthy. Because if you don't teach them that, then their chances of turning to some sort of substance or other addiction, whether that be, video games or TikTok or, further in life, maybe pornography or gambling or things like that, it's high if you don't have the healthy coping skills.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm just going to give a little plug to my daughter and my son-in-law. You know, they have 3 incredible kids. I mean, my wife and I are just so blessed. And we have another granddaughter and a grandson that are very, very young still. Those kids are just amazing. And I'm not saying that because they're our grandkids, right? I I've
A
never.
little bit, but not completely.
Right, right. Yeah, just a little bit. I've never seen my daughter or my son-in-law ever yell or scream or tell the kids shut up ever. Now, I'm not saying that could not, it might be happening while I'm not seeing it. However, I see how they are with those kids. And I remember last summer we went to our granddaughter's, our youngest granddaughter's soccer game, and after the game was over, we're walking back out, and for something, I don't know why, all of a sudden our grandson just started throwing a fit. And he's 6, and he's crying, and he's throwing a fit, and I'm like, gosh, where the heck did this come from? And my daughter turned and said, hey buddy, you have a voice, what's going on, why are you crying? And I'm going, oh my gosh, I would have flipping gave my arm and a leg if that would have been said to me, right? Instead,
Right.
instead, probably, I don't know if it was like with you, was told, what the hell are you crying about? Stop your crying or I'll give you something to cry
I'll
about.
give you something to cry about. Yep,
Right?
heard
Well, you
that.
don't want me to cry, but yet you're going to give me something to cry about. I've already got something to cry about, right? That's why I'm
Yeah.
crying. None of
Yeah.
that ever makes sense. And I just thought that was so cool that my daughter's like, buddy, use your voice. Tell me what's going on so I know how to help you. And I
Yeah.
thought, oh my gosh, where did she come up with this, right? Because
Yeah. Good for her.
this is amazing. Yeah, it is awesome. And I know our parents, and again, not knocking our parents did the best that they could, and they did what they were taught, right? We're all just
Right.
molds of our
Exactly.
parents. So I'm not throwing my parents under the bus at all, because I grew up doing the same thing, because I'm a mold of them. And it took me some time to change some of those habits, because I started
Yep.
realizing I didn't like it when I was a kid. Why am I doing it to my child? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the healthy coping skills are, I think there's a lot of us that can work on it, and it just helps us with everyday life.
Yeah. And so, like with addiction, like that is your coping mechanism, right? Whether it's drinking or smoking pot or snorting some coke, like whatever it is, Like that's how you're numbing these emotions that you were never taught how to deal with. And until you learn some healthy coping mechanisms, like I said, deep breathing. Like I love deep breathing. I do it all day. If I ever get stressed out, I even do it like right when I lay down to go to bed. I just take like this really big deep breath and just like slowly let it out. And I am immediately relaxed and just fall asleep. Meditation is great. I don't know if you meditate, Al.
Hmm.
Mindfulness is super great. A lot of people have pent up energy. So like going for a run or exercising, everything that you're putting in your body as well is contributing to your mental health. So there's like this huge, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's like people are talking a lot about this gut brain connection. So what you literally eat and drink is directly impacting your brain functions, which we all know impacts, how we feel and what we think. So there's a lot of studies about, like prebiotics, certain strains of probiotics that you can put in your body that'll help with any sort of anxiety or depression. But, eating low fat foods and healthy vegetables, like making sure there's a lot of different colors on your plate, that sort of thing. It really does change how you feel. It's
Yeah.
insane. But I mean, it makes, I don't want to say it's insane. It just makes perfect sense. It's very cool. And kind of back to what I was saying, the resources. So like public resources, if people were to go to like the health department or whatever, some of these resources are only available online. And until you know exactly what you're searching for, you kind of feel lost in that circle, that research. So, Al and I are here. We have quite a bit of knowledge on mental health, how to work through that on your own. And, we can definitely help anybody that's going through, trying to get sober, overcoming those new feelings that you're feeling in sobriety. Like, oh my God, this sucks so bad. I have never had to feel this stress without being able to drink a beer, or I just got in a really big fight with my spouse and I just want to drink, but I just got to sit here with these feelings and work through them. Like that's really hard, but it's also very powerful and can be life-changing as well, like in such a good way.
Yeah. And I love that you put it that way, Molly. My good friend Nicholas T. Smith, who is the author of a book called The Giant and the Smalls. If you get a chance to find it on Amazon, I highly recommend. It's like a oh my gosh, what do they call animated type book, and it almost looks like a child's book, but it's actually really a good book for adults as well. And he's a coach, and he's starting to get his name out there quite a bit. And he was talking about one time at an event, and even during a thing that he and I was doing, when you have those feelings and those life challenges hit you like that, meet them head on, because they're not really negative, they're actually a positive. And as long
Yep.
as we meet them head on and we face them, we realize how much more strength that we're getting from them, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
not a negative, it's not something to bring us down, even though it feels like it at that time. It's actually really good to face it. And you also said something very key. There's a lot of things now for those who may not have the finances or the insurance, right, to go to somebody, a professional. There are so many things out there now that are being offered that's very inexpensive. When I first started working on a lot of things, I was downloading some free brainwave entrainment type music
Oh yeah.
for just like 10 minutes, just little 10-minute things. And I was starting my meditation that way, right? Because I had to hear
Yep.
something to keep my mind where I needed to keep it. And even meditating, even if you're off thinking of things, that's part of the meditation. A lot of people think you're
Right.
just to shut your brain completely off, and you're not going
Right.
to do that, right? You might be able to
Yeah.
train yourself
It's really
eventually.
hard to do.
It is really hard to do. So there's so many different ways that, my gosh, I've done tapping, I've done the
Yep.
the deep breaths, like, and I still do deep breaths. That's why I think I'd be a road rage in Bali. because I take a lot of deep breaths during rush hour traffic here in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I get very, very irritated, and I don't like being around all those cars. I just like, yeah.
Oh my
Anyways,
gosh.
I
Yeah.
expect everyone to drive like me, and that's not going to happen. And I'm working on that. Even my wife says I'm doing better, so I'm making advancements.
Good for you. Good for
Yeah,
you.
right.
I
But
just stay my ass home. I don't go anywhere.
yeah, I do my best not to around this time of the day because it's, yeah, traffic here in Utah has just gotten, or in Salt Lake City has just gotten crazy. Uh, but yeah, to go back to the mental health, there are so many different ways to help us cope, and there's also some inexpensive events that you can go to where, my gosh, sound therapy. I started
Ooh,
a,
yeah.
a networking group called ARC, and I don't know if you and I have spoke about it.
Mm-mm.
So in February, I came up with a networking group that I call ARC, ARC, and it stands for Addiction Resource Collective. And I hold it the first Tuesday of every month, and everyone is welcome. It falls underneath the addiction umbrella. So people who work at recovery centers know other people that work at other recovery centers around the valley. They all know one another, right? Because they're all in this
Yeah.
community and they do a lot of things together. However, there are so many other things out there that they are finding that helps with addiction recovery and those in long-term recovery. And even those who are on the other side of the addiction, like sound therapy, meditation, yoga, fitness, healthy eating. You talked about the gut. They're finding out that the gut is huge. When we have a good, healthy gut, it
Yeah.
helps our mental capacity. It helps our attitudes. I mean,
Oh
it
yeah.
helps in so many different ways. So I started this event to have people come out in all these different realms. And I'm like, come out and meet people, build relationships, because
That's cool.
you never know who you're going to meet, right? That,
Mm-hmm.
I may do meditation, but meditation just is not working for me. However, if I went to this event and I found someone that does sound therapy, and I tried sound therapy, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's like the gates just opened up. I found this new
Right.
thing. And that was the whole purpose of doing it. And we've actually got a guest coming down from Park City next Tuesday for our event. She's been doing sound therapy for 14 years.
Ooh, very
And
cool.
she's very, very well known. And she's been all over the place. She just sent me a video that she did, which was amazing. And yeah, so she's offered to come down and do a little bit of sound therapy at our networking group completely free, which I'm
Oh man.
very, very blessed and honored,
Jealous.
right?
So jealous. I actually looked into building my own sound therapy bed.
Really?
Yeah, I was just gonna modify like a massage table, and they've got these transducers that you can put up underneath it that vibrate. There's just like things that people build their home theater system with that like
Yeah.
make the couch shake and stuff. Yeah. I'm still looking for my massage table. So if anyone knows one for like free, I will definitely take it off your hands.
Wow, that's cool. That's too bad you're not in Salt Lake because we have what they call KSL classifieds. And
Ooh, what
like
is that?
KSL is, it's like there's a KSL news station in the building that's here, but they started a classifieds thing, and people sell vehicles and ATVs. I mean, all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
So,
okay. So kind of like Craigslist or
oh,
Marketplace.
something like that. Yeah. So like I do home remodels and different things like that. And
Gotcha.
we pulled these solid wood doors out of like a $4 million home up in Park City, and we were just throwing them away.
Yeah.
And so I was asking the guy, I'm like, hey, do you mind if I take these and
Right.
sell them? He goes, heck, go for it. They're just going to go to the dump anyway.
Crazy.
And I mean, I probably could have asked, I don't know, maybe $100 from each door, but there was one with a window I had put for 60 and the other one without for 50.
Oh my gosh, you could have got way more than that.
I
Solid
know,
wood
right? So I sold it,
doors.
I sold them within like 2 days. And now I
Yeah.
have a jetted tub that we're
Ooh,
pulling out of like $1 million home. It looks brand new. So it's
wow.
still enclosed. I'm still working on getting all the wood away from it. And yeah, the homeowner's like, yeah, it's going. You want it, it's yours. Yeah, so I'm like, all right. So I took a picture of it and posted it on there, and I'm going to have the pump with it and everything. And I'm asking $600 for it for
Yeah,
a jetted tub.
nice.
That's a pretty good
That's a
deal.
heck of a deal. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So if you change your mind and don't want a sound therapy bed, I do have a jetted tub.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I actually just remodeled my bathroom
Oh,
last year
did you?
and threw mine out. I just didn't use it. And it was taking up so much space. Those things are enormous. So
They are very, very large.
not in the market. Thank you though.
Yeah. We've actually got a guest coming on next Wednesday on our live show that hopefully we can get this thing figured out so we can be live. That he's battled with depression and some mental health and ADHD all his life, and was actually looking at being a professional baseball player, and got into college and was actually looked at by the pros. And of course, with his mental health issues and his ADHD, just like you mentioned, not knowing how to cope with things, he went to the drugs
Oh yeah.
and, basically took his dream and threw it in the gutter, in the dumpster.
Yep.
And where we were saying earlier, if we meet these things head on and how they end up to be blessings, where he is at in his life right now, him and some of his buddies have come up with these all natural plants or herbs and substances and made it into a capsule. And it's called Natty Addy. And they're finding out it's really helping a ton of people with their ADHD.
Oh, really? What's in it?
I don't know all the stuff. However, their show will be out next Wednesday, and that's what we're going to be talking about
Oh,
is
cool.
Natty Addy.
Yeah,
And
my son has ADHD, so I'll be definitely interested. I'll watch it. If you can
yeah,
figure out the
yeah.
live thing, either way, I'll rewatch it.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure that you get it, and I'll do my best to remember after we get off the show. I'll send you their link. I believe it's just nattyaddy.com, and it's
Yeah.
nattyaddy.com.
Okay.
And they're doing so well.
Oh,
They
so it's like
actually
Adderall, but natural.
natural.
That play on
Yeah,
Adderall. Gotcha. Okay. Makes
yeah,
sense.
and they're doing so well. They just got to where they got their offices now. They opened up a place. They got some offices here, and yeah, they're just wanting to get their product out there some more. And when it comes to all natural stuff, I'm like, hey, I'll give you a platform, man. Let's get you on the show and you guys can talk
Yeah,
about it. And I
totally.
I had I had Austin on the show as well that talked about his mental health issues and where he's at today and his drug abuse. And he's just an amazing young kid, and I'm very, very happy for him, and seeing that he got the support, because I think you even mentioned at first the show, Molly, that a lot of people who battle the mental health, right, we don't have the support,
Yeah.
and even there's some therapists that still really don't support us the way that we need to be supported, and that's very important. Even in the addiction realm, right, we have to have someone there to help us, or somebody there to that we know that cares.
Right. Or somebody that's been through it. A lot of therapists, if you go to just like a traditional therapist and say you're struggling with some form of addiction, like they may not be trained specifically in addiction. So seeking somebody that's been there, somebody that can help you, that has a program that's designed specifically for addiction is going to be key. And I think I kind of wanted to mention too, like one of the hardest parts about, going through, this healing and mental health is taking that first step and asking for help. Like sometimes that's so hard. Like, you're ashamed, you've been made to feel embarrassed or ashamed of your mental health issue. Like I think of my son all the time. He's on medication for his ADHD, and I feel like, he's got a target on his back when he goes to school because all of his teachers know it. They treat him differently, and I just hate that for him. And we've tried some of those therapists that trying to help him get like specific coping skills. One of my good friends, she's a coach that's specific for ADHD and autism. And like, I didn't even know that was a thing, like if I would have known that when he was diagnosed at 5 years old, he's now 17, he's had to learn different coping mechanisms throughout his own life, like how do I remember, what homework is due tomorrow, whatever. But again, it kind of goes back to that stigma, people just, they don't understand it. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to explain it to, like my ex-husband or like my mom, for example. They just don't understand, what his brain is like inside. Like it's firing on all cylinders 24 hours a day. Like imagine that. That would be awful. He can walk into one room and I'm going to get a drink and get completely distracted and walk out and not remember why he walked in there. I mean, I'm just like, I just know like this is just my life, I'm always going to have to remind him. I'm always going to have to, pick things up after him. It's not because I'm not doing my job appropriately. The support for family members also, like, I think that's another thing for people with mental health issues. Like, what about the people that live with them? Addiction is cyclical because you may have a mental health issue and you don't know how to deal with it. So you turn to addiction and the addiction makes your mental health worse. So it's kind of like, what came first, the chicken or the egg,
Right.
but there are resources. And like you were saying, there's like free resources. Like one of my favorite resources for learning new skills or taking classes or downloading meditations is YouTube. Like so many people have free, like all these videos out there that literally anybody can get to. You can download, you can convert them, and save them. You can teach yourself how to do tapping or meditation or mindfulness or deep breathing, or maybe there's a specific, you want to start exercising and, you don't really want to go to the gym or you can't afford to go to the gym. You just need like a little space in your house, maybe the living room or something, it'll make you feel better. And once you start getting those endorphins going, you start feeling a little better, then you want to do something else that's better for yourself. Maybe eating well, maybe you want to do some personal growth. Personal growth is huge. I love personal growth. I'm like addicted to it. I go to the library at least once a week getting a new book. I mean, the library is free. There's tons of resources there if you want to learn about something. If you're concerned about, codependency or depression or anxiety, or maybe you've had sexual trauma in your life, things like that. Like there's so many resources at the library that you can go check out and just kind of dig into it. And I think the other form of therapy that I have found extremely beneficial and a lot of my clients find beneficial is journaling.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I've just always loved writing. I started writing as a young child. I kept one of those diaries, like the book fair would come to school and there'd be like that cute little diary with a lock on it. And I'd get one every time. And so I always loved writing, but even for people that are like, oh, I just hate writing. I don't know what to write. I feel stupid. I don't know how to answer some of these journal prompts. Like, don't judge yourself. Just put the pen on paper, just start writing. Like you could literally like, I don't really know what I want to write about today. I had a bad day at work, and just go with it. Just go with it. Don't judge it. And before you know it, if you make a habit out of it, you'll learn so much about yourself and you can really start working through some of that trauma. Write a letter to the person that caused you grief or traumatized you or sexually abused you. Let it all out. Write everything down. Maybe somebody bullied you at school and you just can't let go of that. Write down exactly what happened, how it made you feel. Like, don't hold anything back. And then I like to burn it. I'll go out to my chimney on my deck and I will burn that bad boy. And there's just something about it. It's therapeutic. You're like releasing that. Nobody has to read it. and then you can just kind of see the smoke going up, and it's like you're just kind of releasing that negativity, and just keep doing that. Yeah, I love journaling. Journaling is huge for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And they teach a lot of that right in the recovery community, right?
Yeah.
Journaling, write your thoughts down. And,
Yeah.
for those, I would like to throw out a suggestion for those that don't like sitting down and writing, even though it works really, really well. I remember things a lot better if I'm writing them down. It sticks in
Yep.
my brain a lot better.
Yeah, same.
And you mentioned the library. For those that don't like writing and don't like reading, they have a lot of the um, what is it? Like the audible stuff that
Oh, yeah,
with
yeah.
books,
Online,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Like if you're
and
in your car or
yeah,
going for a walk. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why podcasts have gotten so popular too, right? Because people
Yep.
can just be in their car going to work or going to the grocery store and
And it's
listen to
free.
yeah, and it's free. And I love that you said that you burn it. I have an issue with finances, and I've been that way all my life. And it's something that I've really been putting a lot of focus on and working on, because it's like I'm always struggling with finances. Even when I was make a ton of money, I was still struggling with finances.
Yeah.
And I took this class with this gentleman, matter of fact, my friend Nick, and with some other people, and they've all told me the same thing. It's I've been programmed with this ever since I was a little kid, and I'm always thinking that I'm never going to have enough, right?
Yep.
And I don't have enough, and it's because of what I'm thinking. I love hiking. And since I had to give up softball because of all my injuries on my shoulders, I took up hiking many years ago. And I went on a hike a couple of weeks ago up to this place that we have in our Wasatch Front called Lower Bell Falls. And this time of the year with the spring runoff, the falls are just flipping amazing, especially with the record snowpack that we
Oh,
have
yeah,
this
I
year.
bet. I
It
bet.
is flowing hard. And on the way down, I decided to take off and go on this different trail and just to see where it went. And it took me over to a calm part of the river where it looks like normally the trail you can cross it. However, it's like about 4 foot deep and it's flowing pretty good, even though it's smooth. And I went, you know what? I'm gonna do something that I know that will help me. And I love grabbing a piece of sagebrush on my way down, and I sit and I smell it all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
And I spoke my feelings into that sagebrush.
Hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm speaking all the negative stuff that I feel about finances in this piece of sagebrush. And these are my thoughts and where I'm going to take this. And when I speak these negative thoughts into this piece of sagebrush, I'm going to toss you in the river and you're going to disappear for the rest of my life.
That's cool.
And I remember I got a little teary eyed as I'm speaking this into the sagebrush, and I smelled it one last time, and I said, I'm done. And I tossed it in the river, and I just watched that thing go down until it completely disappeared in the rocks and the trees. And it was almost like I just felt these balloons picking me up off my feet. It happened that soon, that quick, and my subconscious is still trying to force its way in. I'm catching it a lot sooner now. It's not dissipated. I'm not saying that was the end of my problems.
Right.
However, it really made a huge dent in it.
Yeah, it
And
really
so
does.
I think with mental health, we can do the same thing with mental health is write it down, burn it, throw it into a river, you know, gosh, who knows? I mean, put something in a balloon and go have the balloon full of helium and let it go. Just watch it
Right. Yeah.
disappear or something, right? Because it does help.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to say that there aren't some mental health issues that do not require medication or proper, professional medical psychotherapy type help. Like there obviously is. I think the conditions that you and I, Al, are talking about are, they're like trauma events, perhaps PTSD to a certain extent, depression, anxiety. Some of these mental health issues that can be induced by addiction or whatever it is that you're using, what we put in our body has such a profound effect on the chemicals floating around our brain. You are literally creating that depression. You are literally creating that anxiety that you're trying to get rid of. So definitely, like, anybody obviously that is having severe mental health issues, suicidal, bipolar, things like that, like, absolutely get professional help. Al and I are not doctors.
Yeah, we're not
We
professionals.
we help people in the addiction space who are working through some of those past traumas with maybe family members or loved ones. They've got shame in their life. They're depressed. They feel hopeless. They feel like a lack of purpose. Those types of things. That's kind of what we're talking about. I just kind of wanted to throw that in there. In case anybody was confused. I don't want to come across like I'm not a doctor.
Right. Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up, Molly, because yeah, it's like my wife told me a lot when she was battling her addiction. She asked me to stop being her therapist and start being her husband, right? And she was right. She was right because yeah, because again, I didn't understand everything that she was going through. And you mentioned, I believe that it was your mom not understanding what your son's going through, right? That he's got all this stuff going on. And I remember a guest that I had on the show a week ago said that we have, if I remember this right, 7 million neurons in our brain. And I remember joking with him, like, I wonder who it was that got the assignment to count all those, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
How do they know that there's 7 billion
Right?
neurons in the
Yeah.
brain? However, can you imagine? And I'm just picturing it, all 7 billion firing at once. How could you even focus on something, right? I mean, I've noticed my concentration on things as I've gotten older. I'm not saying I'm old. I'm almost 60, but I'm still young in my eyes.
Yeah.
My body tells me differently. However, my mind knows it's I can set something down and go do something else and come back and it's like, okay, what did I do with that? Right.
Right. Very
Yeah,
common.
very, very common. However, can you just imagine? Well, I couldn't imagine with somebody who's battling ADHD, all that's going on inside their head. It's like me telling my wife when she was drinking all the time, just stop.
Right. Yeah.
How would you tell someone, well, stop thinking everything that you're thinking,
Yeah,
right?
you
Well, it's
can't. It's
easy.
impossible.
It's easy for us to say because we're not battling it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's a really good point. And it's so true of like addiction, like people that haven't experienced it. They haven't gone through what you and I have gone through. They don't understand it. And they will say, just stop. And I feel like that is detrimental because then you start to think as the addicted person, well, my God, there's got to be something wrong with me. And then
Yeah.
you kind of start spiraling down like, oh, I can't even put down this bottle, or I can't even stop smoking. Like, what is wrong? There's got to be something way worse, something wrong with me. Other people can do it. And that's not healthy. It's not helpful at all. The best thing you can do for somebody that's going through addiction is try your best to understand. You won't understand it unless you have an addiction yourself. But just be completely supportive, help them find resources, help them, encourage them, build them up, find what they're good at and emphasize that, invite them to do healthy, fun activities. Be a model yourself, just be that person that if that was you, that's what you would need.
Yeah. Yeah. Give them that support because it's huge when someone is working on mental health as well as sobriety, right? And or recovery. Having that support helps so much. And uh, for those of you, if you want a good laugh and it's not really to make fun of anything. However, it is very hilarious. I don't know of how many of you out there what used to watch the show Bob Newhart show. So
Oh,
Bob Newhart, right, was a comedian, and he also had this series, the Bob Newhart
didn't
Show.
you just say that you weren't old? I'm
Right.
just saying. I'm just saying.
So I just dated myself. That got
Yeah,
it.
you
You
did.
know, but yeah, I would say Google it. Google it and put Bob Newhart. And I think if you just put just stop it, it should pull up the right one. And somebody sent that to me a couple months ago, and I've seen it before. It just had me rolling. So this lady comes in his office as a patient, and it's like $60 an hour or whatever for him. And she's checking on the cost, and he's like, yes. And so she's telling Bob Newhart how she's feeling. And she's got this anxiety. And she stops and she says, can you help me? And he goes, yes, I can. And she goes, well, what do you suggest? And he looks at her and he goes, stop it. Just stop it. And she's like, what? It's like, what the hell's wrong with you? Just stop thinking it. And she's like, who the hell is this jerk? He's a therapist, right?
Yeah, what kind of doctor are you? This
Yeah.
is not
So
helpful.
anyway, I highly suggest just watching it. It is fun. It is funny. However, it opened my eyes because he's doing it as a therapist, right? But that's exactly what we do to somebody who's in recovery or who has a mental health issue. We don't understand what they're going through.
Yeah,
And it's easy for us to say, stop it,
right.
And for those of you that haven't gone through it, I'm going to throw this out there. I love ice cream. I'm an ice cream junkie. I used to eat a
Same.
big bowl every single night. I cover it in peanut butter. Sometimes I'll even
Peanut
put more
butter.
Oh
Wow.
yeah, I love especially crunchy peanut butter. Oh yeah, put crunchy peanut butter on your ice cream. It is
Ooh,
amazing.
I'm gonna have to try that. So Bluebell came out with this ice cream flavor called oatmeal cream pie. Have you tried that?
Ooh, I have not.
Oh my God, it's bananas. It's so good. I almost ate the whole freaking tub already, and I just got it like 2 days ago. It's so good.
Wow, I'm gonna have to look for that one because that one
Yeah.
sounds really good. Now, see, that
Yeah.
one even sounds good with peanut butter. Yeah,
Uh,
it's you don't think so? I don't know, but try it.
um,
Try it.
are
Get
you kind
some.
of like one of those people, everything's better with peanut butter?
No, no, not really. It's just I don't know.
Ice cream. Huh, that's interesting.
Peanut
I'm
butter.
definitely gonna try that. Maybe with some like plain vanilla.
It's good with vanilla. However, it is really good with like Rocky Road
Oh,
or like
yeah.
moose tracks. It's
Oh,
really,
yep.
really good.
Love me some moose tracks. Okay, sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to derail you.
Oh no, it's no worry. So anyway, I've gone through my weekend addiction with cocaine and alcohol. My wife's battled with her alcoholism. I used to tell my wife, just stop it. And one day she says, what if I told you you could never have ice cream again the rest of your life? How would that make you feel? Well, to me, to justify it, I'm like, well, it's not alcohol, it's different, right? Now, is
Yeah.
ice cream still good for me every single night? No, probably not. So I've worked really hard to keep it just a couple nights throughout the week. However, I've got that finger thumping me on the head continuously every single night. And I'm not lying. It is every
Yeah.
single night that
It's like,
says,
hey, there's some ice cream in here.
I've got
Come
some ice
on.
cream, and there's times I have to ask my wife not to buy it anymore
Yeah.
because,
Yeah, that's half the battle right there.
right?
Like
Yeah.
one half the war.
So if any of you guys are out there that you're not suffering from a substance abuse or porn or gambling or gaming or whatever it may be, there's something out there that you're addicted to. Think about it. And then think to yourself how hard you have to fight, right? Not to eat it or not to do it or whatever it is that it may be. How hard is it for you? That's what it's like for those that are battling a mental illness or an addiction. It's constantly telling us in our head, you have to have this, you have to do it, because that's what brings us that satisfaction, that endorphin rush that we have. And it takes a lot of work, a ton of work to subside that to where it's not that demon poking you in the rib on a continuous basis, to where you can get a little bit of comfort.
Yeah, like I like to say, like, how long could you go without your smartphone? I
Perfect.
mean, okay, so when you bought your first smartphone, did you look at that thing and say, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait to spend all of my free time staring at this thing"? No, you didn't. First you may have downloaded, Candy Crush, and you spent some time on that. And then you got Facebook and you're like, "Ooh, this is cool. I can like get real-time updates. Oh, now there's Messenger." And then you've got Instagram and TikTok. And before you know it, literally anytime you don't have something actively going on, you are grabbing that thing. You are checking your email. You're seeing if there's any notifications. You're checking your Facebook, your Instagram. You're constantly looking at it. Like, how long do you think you could go without that? Everywhere you go, like, I see families sitting down for dinner at restaurants and everybody's looking at their phones. I'm like, why didn't y'all just stay home? You
Right.
know, kids, like real young kids, they get upset. Instead of giving them a pacifier, mom hands them a phone. Like, what? Are you serious right now? Like, I am not to judge anybody. Like, I know that my kids were kind of like after or sorry, before so much of this technology was like smartphones. Like, I didn't even buy a smartphone until after I had graduated college. Like, I'm aging myself now here too. But like, that's an addiction as well. Your smartphone. Like, how
Yeah.
long do you think you could go without that? Like, go put it in a drawer and try and go all weekend without looking at your phone. That's what it feels like.
That's a wonderful example, because it is definitely, and I'm glad that you brought up restaurants, because years ago my wife and I, we went out to eat, and what were we doing, right? She grabs her phone, I grab my phone, and I start looking around the restaurant, and I said, "Hey, look around the restaurant and let me know what you see." And she's looking around, she's like, people, some eating, some not. And I'm like, "No, really, really look and let me know what you see." She goes, "Everyone's on their phone." And I'm like, "Yeah, and we're sitting here doing the same thing." I says, "Okay, from here on out, when we go out to eat, we sit down and our cell phones they're off to the side, right?
Leave them in the car.
We're here to have a conversation. We're here
Yeah.
to enjoy each other's company."
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And
Yeah.
it's made a big difference to where we can actually sit down and have a conversation during dinner, catch up on some things, to where we're not looking at our doggone phones. So that is a great
Right.
example.
Start uninstalling some apps, like uninstall Facebook, Instagram, that stuff that you don't really need. Like, you can still access that stuff from a computer. So
Yeah.
you're not like completely cutting off your left arm,
Yeah.
but turn off notifications. We're so distracted all the time. There's constantly something going on. Um, I like to let my phone die. I just like to let it completely die. I don't turn it on while it's charging. That gives me like gives me like at least an hour, you know, can't even like the temptation's not even there. Um, there's a no phone at the table rule at my house. Like, don't even bring it to the table. Like, no phones are allowed. Um, I try really hard. I'm not gonna say I'm perfect, but I try really hard not to like pay attention to it while I'm driving. Um, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not perfect either. Like, I definitely see that there's a sense of self-awareness that you have to bring to the table to even notice whether you've got a problem. Like, if you can ask yourself, can I live without this thing? And it's really hard for you to say yes, then, just consider that. Just ponder that. Think about that for a while.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, we can't live without air, we can't live without food, things like that. But there's a lot of things that are getting shoved down our face or shoved down our throat that everybody's doing it. Everybody's drinking beer now. Everybody, like, you can't have fun unless you're drinking. Every work function has to have alcohol, baby showers, bridal shower, like everything. There's alcohol everywhere.
Yeah.
So just kind of like, challenge that. Try something new, have a barbecue and serve mocktails to everybody. Like, see what happens, just try it. I'm not saying that you have to commit and swear to never drink a single drop of alcohol for the rest of your entire life. Like, that's huge. That's Nobody can say that. Nobody can honestly, without, with 100% conviction, say, I will never drink another alcohol. I will never drink, or I will never do another line of cocaine. Like, you can't say that. That's your goal. That's what you want, but you can't say that you 100% will never do that. Just try it for a day.
Yeah.
See how you feel. And then, try 2 days and then 3 days and see what pay attention to your body, pay attention to your mental health, see how much more energy you have. You'll naturally be more inclined to eat healthier, to, do nice things for yourself, take care of yourself. Self-care is something that people in addiction, like, what the hell is self-care? I don't even know what that is. And then you get
Right.
sober and it's like, that's a big thing. You got to take care of you. You've spent how many years like not taking care of yourself? In fact, you've just been kind of destroying your body. So you kind of got some catching up to do there.
Yeah. And again, you can find things that, if you're in a financial bind, there are things out there that you can do. I mean, my wife and I, we just started going for walks, right? I mean,
Yeah.
just not recently, but we did in the past, right?
Yeah. It's free.
Where we'd wait about an hour or so after we ate dinner, and then we'd take off and go for a walk, and we'd go out through the neighborhood, or we'd jump in the vehicle and go down to a park. Or we have here in Salt Lake the Jordan Parkway, which walks along the Jordan River, which is just really nice. And that's self-care. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is
Yep.
self-care. Get a bike, jump on a bike and go take off on a bike ride. And that's
Yeah.
actually how I started my self-care, in all honesty, Molly, after I lost my job. And I had weighed 198 pounds because my weekends were partying for 8 years, and I had put on a ton of weight. And I'm like, I'm going to get myself back in shape because I've always cared about how I looked.
Right.
And my wife bought me a mountain bike for Christmas one year. And yeah, I jumped on that thing and remember just going around the block. And before I knew it, I was doing 2 blocks. And before too long, I was riding 1.5 miles. And before I knew it, I was doing 3 miles. And then one day I went 6 miles, and
And
it
then one
just,
day I just never came back.
right. Yeah. It's like the Forrest Gump. I just took off,
Yeah.
my hair was all ratted. I grew a beard. Well, I can't even grow a
Just
beard
kept
at 60.
running.
Yeah. Hey, however, it made such a huge change, and I felt so good. And it's self-care. Writing down in a journal that you mentioned earlier, that's self-care, right? You're getting all the
Yeah.
negative thoughts out of your head. You mentioned at the beginning of the show, the news. TV is programming us. That's why they call it programming. The news, all the commercials are programming us. The news does nothing but pretty much bad news. It's all the
Oh yeah.
nastiness that's going on in the world, so it puts fear in all of us. That's not
Yep.
healthy. Almost every commercial that I notice, he's either talking about a new drug that's come out,
Yes.
or all these other drugs. They're coming up with new drugs for, I mean, I'm waiting for the day they have a drug for hangnails. I mean, seriously, do you suffer for hangnails? Well, we've got this new drug called who knows what. And and then also a ton of the commercials are alcohol commercials. And
Yeah.
again, I didn't have a problem really with alcohol. The only reason why I drank alcohol as much as I did, because I had to keep myself leveled out with the cocaine,
Got to
right?
kind of come down a little bit.
Yeah, I got to come down. And so I can have a drink now and maybe one or two, and I'm good. I don't want any more.
Yeah.
However, you said it. You can't go to the beach without having alcohol because that's a good time. You can't go to the mountains without having alcohol because that's a good time. You can't go to um, a party, a bridal shower, a baby shower, whatever it may be, without
Yeah.
alcohol. And they constantly show that on TV.
Yep.
To me, and I may be wrong, and this is just my belief, to me, they are wanting to do everything they can to keep us under some type of a substance because they don't want us thinking straight. The times when I've stopped doing the weekend with alcohol and the cocaine, my head became so clear, and I started seeing things that were probably there in front of me before.
Yeah.
It's just my brain wasn't catching it, right? Because
Yeah.
even though I'd go a week without using, I still have that substance in my body.
Oh yeah. It takes a while to get
Yeah.
completely out.
So, it's just something that I'm just throwing out there, guys. It's very, very healthy to put some of that stuff off to the side. And I don't even really know what's going on out in the world. I in all honesty, I don't. And it's because
I don't either.
we don't watch the news here. And I'll see it at the gym when I'm doing cardio. I mean, they've got 50,000 TVs in the gym, and half of them,
Yeah.
if not more, is on a news station, you
Yeah.
know? So I do see things here and there. However, I do my best not to, I don't want the nastiness because I don't want it in my head. I just want to wake up every day and be happy.
Right.
And what happens, happens,
Exactly. I mean, it's not like you can control it anyway. What's going on over in
right?
Ukraine and China and everywhere else? Like, what are
Yeah.
you going to do about it?
Yeah,
Nothing.
I can't
So,
pick up the phone and call anybody and say, stop it.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, just stop.
Just stop. So Molly, we've been almost going an hour here. I want people to know more about your podcast too before we sign off. So you've got This Is Sober podcast. Matter of fact, that's how you and I met. I was a guest on
Yeah.
your show. You have an incredible podcast, and for our
Oh, thank
listeners who
you.
absolutely, for even the listeners who watch and listen to the other side of addiction, I highly recommend watching Molly's podcast too. This Is Sober, because she has a lot of good content on there, and I'm just a huge supporter, and I know Molly feels this way too, and a lot of other people who I've been guests on the show. We're out there to help and support one another, right?
Yep.
Because the content that you can get out of these shows are amazing. They are
Yeah.
just amazing. And so yeah, tell our listeners a little bit more about your show.
I mean, I feel like you covered it all. This is sober. I try to do one recording every week, and I try to talk to a variety of people, early recovery, people that have been sober for a long time, professionals. So like I've had a nurse on the show. This week, let's see, who am I talking to this week? An author. So somebody that has written their own kind of memoir. I've talked to sorry, I'm like pulling a blank here right now.
That's okay. I do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just love meeting new people that are in recovery, and it's such a cool community because it's like, just because we're in recovery, we're like BFFs already, like we get each other, we get the worst part of ourselves. There's no judgment. And all we want to do is build each other up. Like, what better community is that? There's no judgment. We want to build each other up. We accept each other for who we are. And that's what I'm trying to build. I know that's what you're trying to build with your resource community, the other side of addiction. Everything that you're doing is super positive, and I support you in every way too. Yeah, I just appreciate you.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you. And I was going to ask my wife to come over so I could introduce her, and that's another thing she's working on getting rid of. She smokes still, and so she
Yep.
just walked out the door to go smoke. I was going to say, babe, hurry, come over here and say hi. But yeah, she just walked out. So hopefully we'll have a chance to do that again. So Molly, how can people find This Is Sober?
I mean, it's on everywhere, Apple, Spotify, anywhere that you can get a podcast, it's on there. I also have a website, As You Are Life Coaching. So I'm a sober coach. I help women that are going through alcohol abuse, alcohol addiction. They just want to quit. They want to take their life back and feel like they know who they are again. I'm also kind of wanted to throw this out there. I actually got invited to be a co-author of a book that's going to be coming out in August. I'm super excited about it. It's called Transforming Lives. And Yeah, I just feel like if we support each other in our efforts, all we're doing really is just getting the message out there. We're able to help more people, support more people, get to know more people. That's really what it's all about. The sobriety community is my favorite community in the whole world.
I would have, here's my big word, and I don't use very big words, or I don't use big words very often. I concur. So
It's
that's
six
my
letters though.
six. Well, that's a big word for me. No, and yes, I say amen to that, because yeah, the recovery community, it's just inspirational. I mean, seriously, it is. You will be around some of the most inspirational and amazing individuals you've ever been around ever in your life.
Yeah,
And
we beat the odds.
yeah, beat the odds, and
Come out
people,
smelling like roses.
right? People in long-term recovery get life. They seriously do. And the reason why they get it is because they did everything they could to destroy it. And they did a really good job at doing it. And to dig yourself out of the darkness of HE double hockey sticks, to see where life is at right now for, I would say, the majority of them, it's amazing. And they are the first people that if you ask for help, they'll be there to help you any way possible. If you need someone just to listen to you, they're there just to listen to you. If you're looking for someone to help give you direction, they will give you direction. And I tell you what, they are people who will not step in your pond unless they are invited. They are just
It's true.
amazing.
It's true. I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah, amazing. Well, Molly, my gosh, it's been such a flippin' honor to have you on the show again. Thank you so much for your time. I enjoy chatting you. I could probably spend another hour here talking to you, and yeah, I just appreciate your time.
Not a problem. I appreciate it, Al.
You
Have a great
betcha.
night.
You do the same, and if there's anything we can do to help you on our end, or if you're ever looking, for guests, let me know. There's a lot of people that I can refer, and some
Oh yeah.
awesome individuals. So yeah, I'm always here for you. If you need something, just remember that, and I hope we'll have a chance to chat again.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Okay, take care, guys.